Beijing low-cost air company Capital Airline officially launched its first direct flight between Beijing and Portugal. Travelers are now able to take a trip between Macau and Lisbon in a less time-consuming journey with a stopover at Beijing. Capital Airline will run 4 flights per week between Macau and Beijing, while the Lisbon service will operate 3 times per week, departing Beijing on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. The waiting time for each connecting flight is no more than 5 hours. The number of Chinese visitors traveling to Portugal is expected to surpass 200,000 after direct flights between Lisbon and Beijing are launched. The goal of the new service is to meet the increasing customer demand in Macau as it is a platform connecting China and Portuguese-speaking countries. What do the passengers think about this new route?
First, the price was good at the beginning. I didn't get the first tickets. Second is the hours to the flight. It's only 13 hours. The others are 16, 15, 16, 17 with time between flights.
Very convenient. I reserved the ticket once it was out. I believe that I will fly with Capital Airlines in the future because this direct flight to Lisbon is very convenient. The travel time is much shorter with only 13 hours. It takes a long period of time to travel to Lisbon with a stopover at Frankfurt.
I think it's awesome. I think it's something that we were really needing, especially from my country, because usually we have to go through 3 or 4 flights, but with this flight we can just go through 2 flights to get home.
As China and Portugal agreed to promote economic and trade cooperation and bilateral exchanges under the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, economic connections will strengthen with the direct flight between Beijing and Lisbon. Jorge Torres Pereira, Portugal's ambassador in Beijing, promises to process the visa applications within a short period of time for Chinese citizens who are traveling to Portugal.
There is a growing Chinese community, a growing business community. The numbers we have of tourists has also been expanding, and every analysis that one does to the situation is that the situation is mature for this boost that a direct flight will represent. It means that business people can do the shuttle between their headquarters in Beijing and the need to go to meetings in Lisbon much more easily and quicker than before. Well, I can tell you that we do think we are prepared for it because we have been preparing actually, because the double-digit growth in the number of tourism is something that began already a few years ago, and we have more human resources in our consular services and consulates. We have established an agreement with a company to outsource the initial processing of the visa applies. I would say in total confidence that there will be no Chinese tourist that will give up of traveling to Portugal because of the fuss or the backlog or the difficulty to get a visa. If we are talking about an inhabitant of Beijing or Shanghai, it's between 24 and 48 hours. So it's the fast average of nowadays modern services in a European country.
Wang Yinjun, Capital Airlines marketing director, says this new route and destination will provide access to new markets for business and leisure for both Portuguese and Chinese travelers.
Macau is playing a special role between China and Portuguese-speaking countries. When we are launching the flight between Beijing and Lisbon, we have opened the flight because Macau and Beijing as well, which will foster the economic relationship between China and Portuguese-speaking countries. Before, there was no such international flight connecting Beijing and Lisbon. From now on, this flight will push forward the communication between the two regions, and it will make the trip between China and Portugal easier.
The flight time between Beijing and Lisbon is expected to be 13 hours, and it takes only 3.5 hours from Macau to Beijing. Capital Airlines indicates that direct flights between Beijing and Lisbon will be available until December 31st. And the lifespan of this new route will mainly depend on passenger demand. The Macau-Beijing-Lisbon route is the airline's first international route between the two countries, as well as an important step in the airline's effort to contribute to the Belt and Road Initiative. The goal of reimagining and recreating a modern version of the ancient trade route that connected Europe to China. The marketing director of the Capital Airline says Macau definitely has the potential to be included in this new line to Portugal. Kathy Chang is reporting for TDM English News at Lisbon, Portugal.